his shitty press service.
Yeah, I haven't used his in a long time. It's probably been a couple of years. You should try it out again.
Hey JP, you good?
Huh?
Are you good, mate?
Good,
how's it
man. It's been a long time since we talked. Probably been almost 3 years.
easily, yeah.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, we got a couple new companies we're starting, so I've been busy with that and down to one SEO client. So trying to.
Are you hanging on to them or are they hanging on to you?
Actually, this is a guy that canceled and then his sites got hacked. And then I said, well, let's just do your SEO again. And he's like, okay. So I charged him double for the first month because we had to fix all of his shit.
Yeah.
So, and then I had another attorney client just cancel because he's got like 3 SEOs working on his stuff and he got some shitty map rings and all this shit just got like dropped. He has 5 listings, they just tanked. So I'm like, I'll let you just go work with the other guys.
Yep. And when you're done messing around, call me.
Yeah, well, he wanted to invest in one of my companies too, so I'm still keeping in like good tabs with him because he's got money. So it didn't end poorly. I mean, we left on good terms, but I just like, hey, like I'm busy with other stuff. Like you should just go work with these guys. So
Yep.
that was my nice way of saying you fucked up.
Welcome everyone to another episode of SEO Fight Club. Thank you for joining us again. I wanted to start today's show with a comment I got in YouTube about my gambling strategy, and criticism is always welcome. David mentioned that you got lucky, Ted. I was a casino dealer for 36 years, and I remember spinning up 36 reds in a row. You should have seen the amount of chips on black. And I'd like to point out that, yeah, the house usually wins. So any gambling advice is probably pretty bad advice. And also remember that 98% of gamblers quit just before striking it big. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And, the thing I was trying to communicate in that is that I'm a tester at heart. And so, of course, I'm going to go in with the strategy and take measurements and make predictions and then measure my results. And, that's what I do in everything. That's what I do when I'm making chicken soup. So it's just kind of my nature to do that. And so that's all that is. And, gambling, I view it as entertainment. I give myself a $200 budget, and I figure if I have fun blowing it, that's the same thing as dinner and a movie, So if you have fun and you enjoy it and you can afford to do it, it's entertainment when it's within reason. Now, when you go to Vegas and you're blowing mortgage payments, and that's a different thing. So don't do that. Nobody's advising you go crazy. Now that he mentions it, there have been times where I've walked past a roulette table where it was all one color and it'd go, hey, look at that, And so, yeah, I can relate. I've seen that happen in nature. It's never happened while I was sitting at a table. But I have seen it in passing, and losing streaks are real. And it makes sense what he's saying, that, over time, the house wins those games. I could see that being true. All right. Any other thoughts on gambling before I get to the boilerplate?
No, the math of the binomial distribution is well known.
Yeah.
You'll lose long term playing that strategy, but it was fun while you did it.
I know that Clint hated my play style. What was your ultimate opinion of my play style, Clint?
I mean, if you had absolutely nothing else to do and If you could actually sit there and drone on endlessly, then yeah, that would have been
It's funny because it's true. It's like the best description I could give my play style is it's sitting there and very slowly getting $20 an hour. Like, I don't think anybody should quit their day job for that. Like, it's not my best money. And it's hard to call it fun if I wasn't so intrigued by the statistics of losing streaks, which is what I'm gambling against in my method. I'd have nothing. It'd be like chewing on tinfoil. So yeah, if it's entertainment, knock yourself out. If it's anything more than that, you got a problem. All right. So with that, like to thank Magic PR for sponsoring us. And so we're starting to talk about how we're going to do our tests. So that'll be a lot of fun. So Madge, I have a question for you because we're coming into Q4 and a lot of people in our industry like to wait and buy credits on Black Friday. Why is that a good or not good idea to do?
It's a good idea because that's the only time I offer a massive discount across the board. You will only see Magic PR email once a year, and that's normally on Black Friday. And that's the only time the prices get discounted heavily. And people do take advantage of it massively. They did last year and the year before, which I don't blame them. But some of them then decide to use the credits maybe in one go, or they stagger them out over the year. But a lot of them do it because they have a lot of clients on board and they want to get that discounted price so they can offer it to their clients at a higher rate and get more money for them. So it makes sense.
And I know that it seems like year after year, all the different service providers try to beat everyone to their promotions. Do you play that game or do you roll out your discounts at the same time?
No, I don't really look at what my competition's doing, honestly. I like to be different. And the reason being is when I set this business up, it was always to be different from other PR companies. And that's the mindset I've always had and tend to go with that, right? So whenever I do a promotion, it'll be just before Black Friday starts. And then we stagger out the emails over that period. And that's it. I don't really care what my competition is doing, honestly.
And I already know the answer to this question, but I want to give you a chance to share it because it's such a great answer. Do your credits ever expire?
No, they don't. But that will be changing. So it will be over a 12-month period. So I'm still a lot more fairer than. I'll give you an example. I've had 2 clients come back to me asking if we bought credits back in 2018. And I'm like, that's 5 years ago, guys. So just for me not to, just not having that ill feeling because they've paid money towards the service, I still discounted and gave them a real good price on the other package. So you won't lose your credits, but I'll give you a better price on one of the others because the service has changed over the years and the packages have changed. So that's the only reason.
Yeah, I was guilty of letting some credits sit a couple years and he honored them.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, it happens.
It does, definitely.
All right, so let's move on with the show. Be sure to check out Magic PR. And if you're looking for a deal, start saving up now because Black Friday is right around the corner. So it's a good time to start saving up so that you can get what you need for the rest of the year at the best price possible. So this is your fair warning call out. Black Friday will rise again. All right. And let's see. Clint, what happened on SEO this week?
Oh, just more questions. I fired it off, starting off in the SEO Signals Lab. Troll got trolled back because he deserved it. And then we highlighted what he did. And Just talked about, one, he was right, or he offered a good solution to the problem, but he was a complete douche nozzle about it. So then a bunch of people just turned on him. Just kind of, highlighting that, because the issue that he was trying to address is indeed a malware issue. And it's also a site technical issue. And people are seeing it a lot because they're on cheap $5 hosts that don't care if a hack goes across all the sites on that host. They'll charge each individual business owner to clean up their website. And if there's one that doesn't, then that hack is still there and it can repropagate across the servers. And we were basically talking about that in the beginning, and then answered a whole bunch of questions and stuff.
Yeah,
All
his
right.
solution was good, but it would never have worked for that site.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, you get guys that are hot shots and they're like, well, you need to do this. I'm like, you're not even doing it on your own site, so why should we listen to you?
Yeah.
I don't even want to go too deep into this topic because troll fights are awesome, especially Signals Lab troll fights. So if you want to see a troll fight with Clint and JP, because I think JP's in that thread too,
Yeah.
go check out SEO This Week for the troll fight of the week.
And you know someone's full of shit when they remove all their comments and block you. So
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of those. Okay,
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
got to go check out SEO This Week. Subscribe if you like good SEO troll fights. Man, I'm telling you, if you're not watching SEO This Week, you need to get over there and watch it. It's under the brand Digital Ear and YouTube. So if you see Digital Ear, you are in the right place. All right, Lee, tested SEO training. What the hell is going on?
Well, we're starting up. The new one starts next week. You will open up our group tomorrow for the people that are already in, because unlike previous ones, we've got a couple of extra little do-it-yourself modules that I've recorded. So there's going to be some work in getting your site ready before we actually go through the training and do what we do. So that's going to be fun to see how that works. Hopefully it should get people results faster than before. And if people are interested, just hit me up on Skype. The information's at testedseotraining.com. But get quick, because, we open that group tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and I heard you have a famous hip hop artist that might be joining this time.
I say nothing about who's in and who's out.
I guess you got to be there to find out.
I know.
Right.
But Ted, you do a pretty good, you do a pretty mean hip hop rap stuff. So.
Yeah,
You couldn't even
sometimes.
get it out to say that with a straight face. So come on.
I got to go practice. I'll practice better next time. I'll have it down.
Hang on. Give me a take.
You just got to test. You just got to test and optimize.
Yo,
Hold on.
yo,
Is Dre
check
on
it
here?
out.
Drop a beat, Dre. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, drop a beat. Who's gonna drop my beat?
Yeah, I think you're on your own.
JP's there. He'll drop a beat.
Troll fight.
All right, maybe next time. I need someone to drop a beat. All right, Carolyn, what's going on with crawl or no crawl?
Geez, you surprised me here. It's going. It's in its third year now. I never
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Thank you. Who knew launching the same test every day would actually be useful?
Well, that's science, right? You got to repeat your results and continuously measure and look for change. And so what's the state of crawling and indexing?
We just had a Search Console update. After the core update, they updated all the Chrome crawlers. And I think it takes a little longer now because they don't just have the regular crawlers, but the inspection tool crawlers have to go through that same thing. So it is fascinating to a nerd But I think we're going to get back to, regular serving now. For a little while, until they start testing the next thing. But yeah, so I looking at everything, I really think the August core update, they're about to update the page that says it's over. Because they kind of did behaviors that made me think, okay, this book ended everything nicely, so it's over.
All right. So you think it's going to go back to business as usual in the near term?
Yeah, they scuttled it at the, yes. And they introduced a brand new mobile bot yesterday. So they start testing the newest mobile against the next newest mobile. So some people I think are going to see some rollback, and they're going to swear it's the update, but it's just a rollback. And as I test those, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, fair enough. And of course, there's the SEO video show with Paul Andre de Vera. So be sure to check that out. He interviews all the biggest names in SEO. So if you want to find out what makes a certain SEO tick, you can look them up on his channel. It's also on YouTube. All right. So let's get to some discussion. So JP, since we have you here, what should people do to secure their WordPress installation? So we're talking about just in general, what are the 3 important things that everybody ought to do when they set up a new WordPress?
The biggest thing for me, the most common hacks are cross-site scripting. So you need to have the security headers in place. Brute force is probably another big one. So be able to block login attempts. Usually people block them after like 2 or 3. WordPress usually blocks that after like 3 or 5 by default, but there are ways that people can still get in. And then the third, depending on the site, you probably don't want to be on shared hosting. So you want to be on your own hosting if it's something that you care about. So there's a lot of security things that you want to do within your server itself. So those are probably the 3 major things.
So a lot of people probably don't know what cross-site scripting, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was introduced to it in its very early form, which was you would manipulate URLs in order to inject content on a page, but it only works with the manipulated URL. But then you could then link that manipulated URL somewhere else and it looks real, or you could get that manipulated URL indexed and then it's indexed and looks real. And things that people would do would be like vandalism and slander or phishing schemes or faking backlinks. Is this kind of what it is?
That's one form of it. A popular form of it is injecting actual JavaScript into like a web form, and that would do different things. Like if someone were to hover over an image, it could redirect to another page. You can also steal user sessions and cookies. That would be another one. So people can actually log in to your site under like a random user. So that's essentially what cross-site scripting would be. Another big one too, there's actually a lot of security things that you can do within the htaccess, like in the Signals Lab, which is pretty common, like that URL injection. You can actually stop the sQuery URLs by inserting some different code into the htaccess. But essentially what cross-site scripting is being able to inject JavaScript to do different functions.
Interesting. So yeah, if you're out there and you're trying to set up your website for the first time, it kind of pays to find a security expert to kind of go over your install. The big enterprises, they'll have system administrators that know this stuff inside and out. So when a real enterprise does it, like they throw the security handbook at the server. Now, when we do it with our businesses, we're like, I'll get hosting, I'll point a domain, I'll install WordPress and SQL Server, and look at me, I did it myself. What are some of the things that go wrong with this type of mentality?
Well,
Before he answers it, I would also submit to you that it is I've done malware cleanups. I'm by nowhere as skilled at doing the stuff as JP is, but I've done them, and I charge significantly more to clean up a website than I would if you came to us in advance and said, can you help us lock this down? It's way cheaper to lock it down than it is to clean it up. So there's another reason that you should be at least paying attention to what JP's telling you and thinking of that now. It's not too late. It's too late after your business gets fucked.
Yeah, and I'll throw out back in June, I heard JP talk a little bit about this, and he scared the crap out of me because there were, he said, like, right now there's a particular theme and a particular plugin, and if you use those two in combination, anybody can grab, all of your customers' credit card numbers, and it was a fairly common configuration. Now, it didn't affect anything that I was doing, but it starts you thinking about, okay, if you're taking payments in any form, where are all the plugins and themes that are potentially, opening up problems and liabilities? So.
Yeah, that was a big breach that happened with using Elementor and WooCommerce. People could actually steal the card information and also user information. So probably the most common, I guess, hack you can say with WordPress is cross-site scripting, where they're actually finding vulnerabilities in plugins. Contact form, I think it's called Contact Form 7, actually just had a pretty recent one within the last couple of months where you could actually inject different scripts to steal sessions. So a lot of this stuff too, you really have to plan ahead. If you're building out a big e-commerce site in WordPress, you should be on your own server, period, because you're very limited to what you can do with shared. Even using something like WP Engine, they don't give you access to htaccess. So that's another thing. That's another big problem. So you have to plan ahead. If you're building a big site and multi-million dollars, you should be on your own servers.
Yeah, I agree. I guess there's more to a business than just the website. How serious are the security threats with email?
They're pretty big, so you want to make sure that your DMARC is set properly, because you can actually spoof emails. We could probably do a whole show on this, but I can show some examples. But you want to make sure that your DMARC set properly, because you can actually spoof an email where it looks like it's coming from Amazon or Facebook or something like that, and it looks legit. I mean, the way these phishing guys are setting up their emails, I've even had to like double glance at an email that I got recently because it looked 100% legit. It actually was for a LinkedIn. We're log into LinkedIn. I looked at it and I was like, I don't have LinkedIn, so I knew that it was fake. But some of these are look very real.
Yeah, and with regards to hosting, the lines of, shared hosting get more and more blurry. Like, for example, you might have a VPS, but you're still sharing the same hardware. You're still on the, and so it feels like you have a server to yourself, but that's different than shared hosting in its old-fashioned sense. Is there some point in the spectrum where it's the right point? Or
so I look at, all hosting, whatever, as much as you can control through SSH, that's what I look at, is how much you can actually control, because most shared hosting, they only give you so many access to the actual files. You're very limited to being able to block like SSH access, or only allowing IP authentication through SSH. You can't really do that on shared hosting. You can only do it on a hosting that you own. So Like I said, if it's like a local business, you're probably not too concerned with that stuff. If you're like a small mom and pop business, that's probably okay. But once you start getting into some of these kind of bigger companies, bigger e-com, even like if you're a large plumbing company and you're nationwide, I would even be on your own server at that point. But again, it's just one of those things you really have to plan ahead for. Most shared hosting, they may offer some type of malware removal or something like that. But again, that's kind of an upcharge. Most of the big guys, like there's that big company that owns like Bluehost and
EIG.
HostGator, I forget what the name of the companies. They own like 4 different host companies, but they offer security, quote unquote. But you have to buy into like extra plans, and they do a piss poor job at it.
Yeah, that's EIG. They own
Yeah.
like HostGator and
Yeah.
Bluehost, and yep.
Yeah.
Friends
And-
don't let friends use EIG host companies.
I know in a lot of businesses there tends to be internal conflict. Like there's usually one person who's like, no, I don't want the server to get hacked. We need to have maximum secured, permissions everywhere, and we need to lock things down. And then you typically have another group within the company that's like, no, I want easy FTP access. You need to lighten up all the chmod file permissions.
Yeah.
And, so how can people be strict and still function? Because it seems like opposing forces.
I mean, that's something you have to be really nice to the tech guys at the hosting companies. And actually, one thing too, you'd be surprised how much you can actually block using htaccess. So if they can at least give you that and you're using WordPress, it's kind of a win-win. But it's one of those things, sometimes you have to build some rapport with the hosting companies to be able to give you a little bit more leeway. Don't be a dick, be nice to them because they'll give you a little bit more power as you go.
All right, let's see. We have a few questions here. Do you recommend any particular hosting for ecom?
I mean, AWS does a good job. Linode is a really good one. Linode's probably one of my favorites. They have excellent support. Their services are extremely good. They have a lot of different tools that you can use. Google, I mean, they're pretty good, but they're a little bit pricey. You pretty much the 3 major ones or 4 major ones are like Azure, AWS, Google, and Linode. Digital Ocean's also pretty decent. But using you have to be careful with using the managed WordPress ones because again, they don't allow you access to htaccess and a lot of these other major important files.
Yeah, I use Liquid Web. I have a dedicated server over there, and I pay extra for them to run the checks on my server once a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely overkill for what I do, but I don't have to worry. I don't have that worry either. So I'd rather pay a little more upfront than pay a lot later.
And that's one thing too. To me, I look at this stuff as insurance. I mean, if you're a multi-million-dollar company, even if you're a plumbing company, there's no reason why you shouldn't spend, even if it's $100, $200 a month to get a little bit more secure.
Yeah,
and I can promise you the fixing the problem is way worse than mitigating the problem.
And the risks are extreme if you're handling payment info. So if you have your own merchant account and you're collecting credit card data, the fees on that for mishandling a credit card and letting a hacker get away with it, I mean, those things are huge. You're talking bankruptcy territory at that point.
And even SaaS's too, making sure you're, sanitizing and hiding your APIs. You'd be surprised how many API keys are wide out there in the open, especially with all these AI tools. People are showing their open AI keys, and so that's another thing. Just be careful what tools you're using, third-party services, and being able to hide your API keys as well.
Even keep an eye out on services that are posting to like cloud stacks for you with your API keys, because oftentimes they put that right in your HTML that they're posting.
Yep.
Yeah,
Even your S3s, a lot of times too, the credentials and API keys, those are public. And hackers have different tools to be able to mitigate and enumerate some of those tools, and we can get right into your S3 bucket. So again, just don't put your important shit on some of these services, or find ways to hide it.
Yeah, and a lot of people get owned with group buy services. So you buy into a group buy, they have 15, 20 different software packages on them. Most of them support APIs. You configure your APIs, not even thinking that everyone on that server now can see your API keys. Same as money.
Yep. Well, because like OpenAI actually has a bug bounty right now. They're paying like $500,000 if you can break into their API. So that's like, if they're putting that much money into their APIs, making sure that you're hiding your API keys.
Yeah, that's important. And just be careful the neighborhoods you go to. If you buy group buys, man, you ought to think twice before plugging in an API key. I bet those group buy servers have keyloggers and
No,
everything.
100%.
If you log into your server from a group buy system, man, you'd probably just got owned. That's how you're doing it. That's how they're getting in and rooting you over and over and over again. So yeah, be careful. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. We have a question. How do you prevent and mitigate the Japanese keyword hack? I imagine that's the one where you start seeing all these pages in Japanese on your website. Sounds run of the mill.
Yeah, a lot of that you can block. I can actually post. I think I posted the code, the htaccess script in your group, but a lot of that is being able to block users from creating URLs, and you can mitigate a lot of that with htaccess. Some of those are SQL injections. So again, that's one of those things, that's probably a little bit more advanced, but a lot of this stuff, like I said, you can block in htaccess.
And I know your opinion on this, and I don't agree 100%. I agree like 75, 80%. I think there's wiggle room in places. What is your thoughts about using ChatGPT to get advice or assistance in configuring your server?
It does work. I mean, at the end of the day, they're getting it from somewhere, and a lot of times they're getting it from things like Stack Overflow for their content. So it's not 100% accurate, so you may need someone to double check it. But a lot of the times, I mean, I'll even write just code and scripts. I mean, I'll double check it. But I mean, I used to be against it because of when it first came out, people were using it for content. But as people are in cybersecurity, I mean, I know a lot of guys that are using it to speed up their processes. So nowadays, I'm not 100% against it. But again, just because code is executable doesn't mean that it's actually like the right way to write the code. So just keep that in mind. You may need someone to relook it over.
Yeah. So a little bit of knowledge can be dangerous, but if you know what you're doing, it's a good memory aid.
Yep.
All right. So there's some interesting headlines in the news as well. So it looks like Google came out saying that LSI is not a thing. And I think it's again. And I think it's another case of, well, we didn't code it into the algorithm, therefore it cannot be discussed.
I think it's the distinction is because everyone says LSI, and then all the super nerds over there, Bill Slosky and I got in a big old heated thing. He actually got hateful because I told him, I said, you're confusing or intentionally referring to latent semantic indexing when everyone else is using LSI keywords as a different, there's a different thing. There's a different definition for that term. And you're intentionally saying latent semantic indexing ergo is the same thing as LSI keywords, which it is entirely not. The theories are related, but there's two different definitions of that. And that stupid point, LSI is not part of the the algorithm, is it's just dumb. And if you know LSI and you know how they're all using it in order to debunk the idea of LSI keywords, which then would debunk the idea of TF-IDF, which would then debunk the idea of entities, which would make tools like on-page SEO, on-page AI, Surfer, Phrase, and all the rest useless, supposedly. If then you're, I mean, it's a dumb argument in order to be right about something. Does that make sense? Am I saying that properly? Hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. The short of it to me is there's this thing that works well in Google. If you find the words that co-occur on pages that rank well for a keyword, that collection of words tends to have positive impact when you put them on a page. Name them whatever the hell you want to name them. LSI keywords, entities, variations, whatever the hell you want to. They're the words that co-occur on pages that rank well. And the reason they're important is because Google needs to fundamentally distinguish between a page that says a keyword a lot, keyword stuffing, and a page that's actually about that topic.
Right.
And so the only way you can quantify that page A is more about a keyword than page B is to figure out, is it talking about the things a page about that topic would talk about?
And since it can't read, it plays word associations. And then there go from those word associations, it gets all these documents and it says, oh, look, this document is using these set of words the most, super LSI entities. And then because they're more on target, the entity set is more on target than this other document, it ergo ranks higher. So yeah, that LSI argument, it's so old and tired.
The substantial difference between LSI keywords and entities is that entities are acquired through natural language processing, and LSI keywords are discovered statistically. They're
both LSI keywords is count, right? So TF-IDF, the same concept. This is the count. And then to your point, entities, we were already using them before they were called entities, before the NLP API came out and Google started, intentionally going after those particular super LSIs. That's what you call them. We were already using them. So we were already doing all of this stuff. And now we have tools that apply. And in that argument, the LSI is not part of the algorithm. Well, the same protards that say that are telling you to go use Surfer, Market Muse, on-page AI to go optimize your content in links. I mean, all those retards are doing the same thing. So it's hypocritical and nobody calls them out for it. I just don't get it. I mean, and if you do, you're evil and how dare you use LSI keywords? They don't rank.
Yeah, and when you have your source of words to consider, whether they're entities or LSI keywords, you have to manually process this list. And you have to say, okay, my page is about apple pie, so temperature and ovens and cinnamon and crust are topically relevant. They're obviously words that you would mention in the course of discussing apple pie. And so whether you use entities or LSI, when you manually process that list and decide the topically relevant terms, either of them largely gets you to the same solution set. There'll be little differences because there just naturally are, but the meat of the words that are in common are the meat of the words that are in common.
Would you
So-
say that that's equal to slang? So if like there's like, let's say I'm writing an article about soda and then I'm talking about Pepsi, Coke, and then I say pop, because other people say pop as part of like some type of slang relation to soda. Is that something similar?
Yeah, it happens. Like different websites will mention, the synonyms. They'll define them. They'll say in the South, people refer to all soft drinks as a Coke.
Yeah.
Just FYI, they define their terms. People define their terms,
Yeah, and
and
I
they
think-
talk about ambiguities, and it happens.
I think that's one of the things that's interesting about Mueller's comments is that I haven't seen him define LSI keywords. So maybe within what Clint was saying earlier, maybe within the Google context, he is correct. But conceptually, Google has to, map words to topics. And whatever we call the damn words, whether we call them keywords, entities, LSI, or make up your own damn term, they have to know that these things are related. They're tying them to topics so that, your page is potentially relevant for queries, of these types. And so I think it's sort of although it's a different variation, it's that dumb argument, LSI, it's the Schlosky argument that was there for years ago. They don't use LSI. Well, yeah, they do. Well, we use LSI in a different term. Well, you're using it wrong, so you're wrong. It's that shit all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Google has this weird thing where they can't talk about the behaviors that are observable. So they will say, no, we don't use TF-IDF, but we can sit there and look at the outcome and say, hey, the outcome of the search results looks like it favors a TF-IDF-like algorithm is in use. And so Google may have invented a TDF-like algorithm that's in use, and they call it, monkey, badger, peacock. That's their algorithm name. We don't use TF-IDF, we use monkey, badger, peacock.
Well, now
And
you've let the
it
secret
drives
out,
you
Ted.
up a wall because we are observing TF-IDF like behavior in the search results. We have eyes, we can measure, we can make predictions, we can get results. We see TF-IDF like behavior. Can we prove they use exactly the TF-IDF algorithm as it's written in Wikipedia? No, we cannot. And so Google has the luxury of going, aha, you cretins. We do not use TF-IDF. We use monkey, badger, peacock.
Well, they don't even say which one they use. They just say,
Yeah.
no, we don't use that.
So
And in Google's defense, I'll play devil's advocate on this one. In Google's defense, as you said, they're not going to just come out and go, oh yeah, we use this. You know what I mean? They literally can't, because there'll be trolls, 1,000 of us, just fucking nailing the algorithm if they give us a door into what they're actually doing, right? But that said, the counter argument of LSI versus LSI keywords is being taken up by talking heads and enterprise SEOs that couldn't rank a real website with, if they were given a roadmap, because they're just used to being able to just do this one little thing, and they work on this really expensive brand website that's got a whole bunch of authority and just publishes and farts and sends an email and has 100,000 visitors. And now they're the greatest SEOs ever. But those guys are not differentiating. They're not defining. And then if you challenge them, they'll all jump on you all at once and try to make you look like an asshole. So that's what new people are running into. Those are the people that those new people find that are promoted on Search Engine Land and Search Engine Journal and all those big high-end conferences. Is all these enterprise retards that don't know anything about ranking a real local business. who's, got a $1,500 a month budget and is depending on you to get, help put him in the position to get some leads. And it's to me, it's sad that we can't. I really want to break into that crowd so that I can provide an alternative voice. The downside is it's so hard to get into that crowd. You got to act like them and talk like them and suck ass like them and just be a horrible, shitty person in order to get in there and then get in front of that audience.
Like a lot of wins there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, because the truth is, oh, go ahead, Ted.
Oh, go ahead. I talk a lot. You go first.
I was going to say, we all know if CNN writes an article about Clint's hat, it's going to rank number one, and it has nothing to do with the prowess of the SEO or the quality of the article or anything else. It has to do with just that massive authority that they're throwing behind it. And there's no way that people, they don't equate enterprise. And, if I, as an SEO blogger, decide to write an article about Clint's hat, now I got to go link build. I got to optimize it a little bit. I've got to do some things to make moves happen. And those things don't have to happen when you've got those, giant ass authority sites. So, and people don't equate those two. Your average SEO doesn't see that, or they see it and think it works differently than it actually does. They could just have a picture of Clint's hat and a title that says Clint's hat, and it'll fucking rank number one probably for that keyword. So,
well, those enterprise SEOs position their information as this. That's the way you do SEO. And if you're a small business and you want to get more organic traffic, right, high quality content, and make sure it's topically relevant. I mean, that all sounds great and wonderful, but you forgot the number one important thing is promotion. And then when you challenge one of those enterprise SEOs, don't do link building. Well, so you don't promote your content. Is that what you're telling these people? The right does great content, but don't promote it, don't market it. And digital marketing, by its very nature, results in backlinks. So you have to build backlinks in order to promote your content. Oh, no. You got to do digital PR. Ask Clown, all you're doing is you're building backlinks to tell people where your content is. So and again, it frustrates the hell out of me. I mean, if I'd probably be really bad if I went to enterprise content conference and probably get kicked out because these people are just hypocrites.
It's important.
For the record, Clint, I don't use digital PR. I use organic connectedness.
Yeah,
that's the way we do it.
Yeah,
it never jumped
that's a
on
good
the
one.
guest posting. Article marketing became guest posting, became outreach. Now it's digital PR. It's all the same bullshit with a new wrapper.
Now it's community relations.
Yeah,
it's important for people to understand that SEO, the job of SEO, will literally change as you climb the authority ladder. And so the SEO job at the top of the ladder is not the same SEO job that's at the bottom of the ladder. When you have the SEO is the guy who does SEO for IBM, it is very likely that guy can't rank a plumber. That guy can't make a plumber's phone ring.
it was very likely that guy can't make a change to the website without a 4-month meeting process and decision-making guidance.
And at the bottom of the page rank ladder, it's very likely that SEO that can rank electricians all frickin' day, he's going to be powerless to get business units in a large organization to all be on the same page about what the company needs to do to rank better. Yep. So he's not going to know how to do the internal consensus building in order to get improvement to happen on IBM's entire, landscape. And so those two jobs, the technical work that you do, couldn't be more different. I mean, they are totally different work. They are not the same thing. And the truth is, I think Clint statistically is correct a larger percentage of the time, because there are vastly more smaller businesses than there are Fortune 10,000 businesses. And so for most people in general, that enterprise caliber advice is incorrect for what they're doing.
But people got to remember, CNN got to where they are from something that's probably came from links. You know, all these authority sites started somewhere.
Ted Turner's Color Classics, man, that's how CNN got started.
Yeah, branding generates links, content marketing generates links, but you got to do promotion. I mean, Charles he's in the comments. He works, this is Charles Taylor Fox, not because the name's hyphenated, that's where he works. And it's branding, brand stories, and then that whole and I bet you, well, I don't ask Charles to confirm or deny it, but when they all started migrating over to digital stories and took on the national acquired method of writing headlines and stories, that generated more traffic, more branding, more, just this big ass circle, and it compounds itself. 99% of SEOs will never be in a position to have a website like a Fox News. So 99% of SEOs need to stop taking advice from those guys, because none of it is relevant to you.
Yeah, and FYI, we have an enterprise SEO in the comments section right now. But the thing to understand, what we're saying, the distinction here, is that advice for enterprise SEO is different than advice for people ranking plumbers. And so we're not saying enterprise SEOs don't know how to do enterprise SEO. Couldn't be further from the truth. We know there are good enterprise SEOs at doing.
They all suck.
SEO.
Stop being a candy ass. They all suck. Even Charles. Charles sucks too.
Hey, Charles.
All right, Charles, you can't win. All right.
They're dealing with bigger issues than you and I would have to do for a plumbing website or a small business website or information blog. The scope of stuff, like when they got to fix something, it happens across this big ass platform after months of meetings and decision-making process, and then going through and then someone goes, all right, who's going to push the button and be responsible for this? And then they have 50 meetings about that before they can do it. It's not easy by any means of the imagination. I fucking hate corporate work, and I don't know how Charles does it.
Somebody has to do it. It is hard work. So I'm not about to just drop hate on it. It's not a job. Like if you're an SEO, if you're a agency SEO, you probably would hate enterprise SEO, even though you get the brand to leverage. Yeah, they're very different work styles.
If you're a politician and you like pats on the back, then that's probably the job for you.
As a side note, Clint, in 2004, somebody registered askclown.com, but there are some other TLDs that are available. You might have some interesting branding or trolling sites.
I can sell you that. I bought that one. I can sell it to you if you like.
Yeah. My guess was if he actually used that and call people out, you might as well just have some lawyers on hand.
So Jordan, there's
just
a
few
question asking, who are you? Can you tell people who you are and how they can reach you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, most people know me being the local SEO guy or G&B guy, but I've actually transitioned out of that probably within the last couple of years into doing more cyber security stuff. So we do a lot of consumer security, PC security, web security, but I put my email in the chat. That's the best way to get a hold of me. So if you have any web security questions, also too, we are in process, me and one of the other members here are building a plugin for WordPress that will help mitigate a lot of these problems that people are having. So keep an eye out for that. I'm also in Ted's group. So if you're in there, I also do run my own group as well, which is also free. So if you have any questions, you can reach me in Ted's group or on that email.
Ted's
There you
group's
go.
probably more stable. JP has a habit of deleting his groups every 6 months.
I do. But so far this Skype group's been up for like 6 months. It's not going anywhere. So
He does that because his stuff works.
Yeah. Or he's running. He's running.
yeah. But
Yeah.
actually I had a Discord group and it actually my account got disabled and then it shut down the group. So I had to start over. So
All right, we got a new topic question here. How to handle meta tags, content, and deep pagination on subsequent pages, since the pages in the pagination sequence should have self-referencing canonical according to Google.
Yeah, Ted, you're getting real quiet there.
Oh, sorry, I was drifting from the microphone,
Yep.
trying to read this one. This one's kind of a long one. So this sounds like a pagination, how to implement pagination and how to have a unique page on those. So in the title, if it's the socks category of a store, simple example, it would be socks page 1 for the title, socks page 2 for the title. Same thing for the meta description. You are going to summarize it as category page 2 and then probably some descriptor. They're going to be very close to duplicate content. The thing that's going to be unique on the page is going to be the product mix that's actually on page 2 of the socks category. You do want to canonicalize it to page 2 of the category. Don't canonicalize to page 1 of the category, because then all of your subsequent pages are claiming to be page 1 when they're not, and they show different products. So you want to let those things exist as what they are. Page 2 of the socks category is page 2 of the socks category. And that's really all you got to do. You want to make sure that Googlebot isn't getting into the sorts and filters and faceted navigation, because if it does, it'll sort ascending and descending by price and ascending and descending by name. It'll sort them by color. It'll filter by review. And then it'll say, well, look at the time, we really didn't finish up with socks, but we're all out of budget and we're out of here. And then you get 5% of your site index. So you got to keep Googlebot out of all of those variables. And the cleanest way I know of to handle that is if the user agent is Googlebot, simply do not draw faceted navigation. Googlebot doesn't even need to know it exists. And that's the safest way to clean it up. Any thoughts on pagination?
I read an article today talking about the exact thing. It's sort of the exact thing. It's I'll put it in the comments. You have to get it now. Dealing with pagination, indexing of the search, the search filters, indexing of the cart, and then they had a add the wish list button, and it was creating parameter URLs, and Google's indexing them even though they weren't like there. And this is how they handled it. So it was pretty interesting to read. Which they also address pagination in there too. If you don't want it to show up, like if you have your page 2 canonicalized page 1, but Google's still indexing page 2, they had a way to deal with that too, all without messing with crawl. This is basically what they're doing. They're protecting the crawl rate. So.
All right, let's see. So somebody says CNN started long before colorized movies. I was there. Ted started with a tiny local station. Yeah, I don't know CNN's history. Totally believe it. All right.
Lee was around in the 30s. He would know.
Back in the day,
The expert.
we all gathered around the Victrola, and that's how we spent our nights.
Oh my God. Around
Charles-
AOL chat rooms.
Oh, that was that newfangled stuff. We still didn't get involved in any of that shit.
And his clock on the website was actually a sundial.
Charles mentions he's an enterprise SEO, if you don't know. He mentions that it takes 3 or 4 months to fix the ad injection issue on his article pages. And so he's mentioning that, yeah, there's an enterprise level grind to everything they do.
Yeah, that's because you have to talk to 14,000 people just to get one thing fixed.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's why it's a very different job. And so they don't spend their time doing link building because they have a mountain of authority. They just don't ever need to do it. That's why they go on to Signals Lab and say, don't build links. It's unnecessary. It's only because their definition of SEO is totally different than SEO at the bottom of the page rank ladder. All right. So with that, that's all of our questions. And we will see you next week. So thank you, everyone. Oh, and if anyone out there has ideas on what could make the show better, leave a YouTube comment. We're open to hearing your ideas on what the channel should do or how we should pivot in the future. So if you have ideas along those lines, we'd love to hear them. So definitely reach out and let us know.
And
Thanks
then
a lot.
I have a shout out for SEO spring training. It's in April. The pre-sale is on now. We are going to be raising the prices. So if you don't get in now, don't come back when we do the full sale crying that you want the original prices. This is not a scarcity thing. Get them in now. Just got back last Friday. I went to Phoenix to set up the actual one of the VIP events. If you like riding ATVs and maybe even shooting machine guns, that's one of the things we're looking for to do.
Yeah.
Can
And
you combine the two? That'd be
Yes,
awesome.
you get
Yes.
Normal Tuesday. in
Booking now.
Oklahoma. That ain't nothing
Booking
special.
now.
yeah, and I heard that pre-sales were already 70% sold out. So this is
90 now. Yeah.
this is a popular conference. It will sell out.
Mhm.
So if you're
And-
interested, act sooner than later. All right, guys. I will see you next week. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.